Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the No Code series. We have done a little bit more investigation into the reasons why the padding at the top of our container here was not working so well. So I've done a little bit of checking, see what the heck is going on, and to be honest with you, the cause of all the issues really is just a confusion with all the containers. So I found that it was almost just as useful to just start from scratch almost. It gave you some good examples of how to get to contextual information like the session user name and the avatar, so that helped. But to get things into the right place and what you're expecting, it wasn't the easiest. So what I've done is I've just tried to simplify this quite a bit. So what I've done is on the left hand side you can see I've started to rename some of these sections and containers, and I've removed a lot of the containers which I thought was just giving us problems, to be honest. So I've got a overall section or container I should say for this whole page. It's going to be split into two basically. One which is this, what you can see on the screen already, and another one which will contain the buttons. So within this top section we then have two containers, so not container within container within container. We've got one for the actual avatar and essentially the hello Emily. So this will contain the avatar pic, as we know, and we've also got the likes of the horizontal text, which is hello and then the person's name. In addition to that, I've renamed the text underneath it, so our tagline or title I've called it, and obviously in the last episode we renamed that to time to go on vacation. I've removed the bottom container, so we'll be doing that in this particular episode. But that is just a lot more easier to read. It might have been easier to start from scratch, but it was good to get a few examples there that you can go back and rely on. So as a no-coder, this might be, or someone who's completely new to this, which I particularly was, to be honest with you. I've only seen it once or twice, but not really delved into it. That was hard to get your head around all the kind of containers. So that's a lesson learnt. So I'm going to start the timer in this one, and what we're going to do in this particular episode is just add an additional container down the bottom, and within that container we're going to have a grid. So it's going to be a grid container, 100% width across the page with 3 buttons. So we're going to have a button within each column, and so that would mean that within that columns we can then go to external pages. So I think in this one we'll only get as far as just defining the buttons rather than going or specifying what those buttons do. Although we have a good example of on the top where it said create issue, I think it was. We might have to look at seeing if we can replicate what that does. So let's start the timer and kick this off. Okay, so let's create a brand new container below this particular one, and let's just call it, so it's container. There we go. So and I'm going to name it so I can show you how I rename these. So I'm just going to call this bottom section. I'll keep the ID the same, not too worried about that. So we've got a top section and a bottom section, and in our bottom section this is going to be a grid. So you can see how the grid is kind of split up from the page there. We only want one row, so that will show as one row like that. At the minute it's split into 2, but we'll say 3. There we go. So if we just remove that there, so we can see how we've got a container there with 3 areas ready for us to add additional components. So I wondered if we can do this by going into here and just saying button. So we've got button and button bare. I think button, we've got buttons, we've got a few different ones. We've got circular, we've got button iconic, split button. Let's go for a normal button, shall we? Label. So what do we want to call it? So we want to call this new holiday vacation. I've been saying vacation, so new vacation. Let's just call it that. Size of the button, we're going to have to play with this, but let's just start with medium and see where we go from there. Variant, not sure what that means at this point. It's a button style, so this will be, yes, it will take on different styles for the button. So do we want primary, secondary? Let's go primary colors at the moment, although we might go into the styles and change it to a different color. I don't think there's too much else to do. I mean, obviously we will configure where the heck the button goes. There's icons. These could be useful. Do you have holiday? No. Vacation. Oh, vacation fill, vacation outline. Oh, there you go. Yes. Let's go for that. Oh, lovely. We like that. So yeah, so we'll configure afterwards where this actual button goes to, but let's start with that. We may need to also configure a bit more about some additional settings to make sure the width, etc., is set to 100%. So we will configure that in a second. Let's just quickly see what that button looks like as is. And the container. Yeah, so at the moment it's just going to show there as one. It's actually a fairly small button there, so we need to do a bit more configuration of that. So let's add a component after for another button for button. So this would be vacation requests. And we want primary, and let's add an icon. Maybe it's like a list. Do you have like a list? Yeah, that's pretty good. And let's remove that. And then what I will do as well is in each of these give them a proper name. So new vacation button. And vacation, let's just say list. Right. And finally, we will finish this off by doing our final button. So we'll add another component after button, primary, styling, and we want my schedule. Is there a better word for it? My calendar? Vacation calendar? We'll go with that. Vacation calendar for now. Let's see if we've got an appropriate calendar. Ooh, okay. Yeah, looks good. I like that. Let's save that and just see how it appears at the moment. Just before I do that, I know we're out of time, but let's just, again, let's set our labels so we know where everything is and what they're called. We'll review what they look like, and then in the next episode we'll look at the styling to set the page a little better. So yep, at the moment they're kind of all over the place. I like the icons, and obviously they're not going to do anything at all at the moment until we configure what they do. But we'll we'll make these a bit bigger, big buttons here. That's what we're after, and to fill the section a bit more. So until the next one.